Alright guys, hey guys, so basically I'm just gonna be going over a short intro to a small little program. Hold up, let me lower this music. I don't know if you guys like Post Malone or not, but I love him. I'm just gonna be going over a small little intro program to help anyone who's maybe new to CS, maybe not really sure how things are supposed to go. I know when I had my first CS class I was very confused and everything just looked like gibberish and I was just like very lost. So hopefully this will just give a very minimalistic idea on how to start programming. So first of all, you're going to want to have something that you're going to be running your code on. So personally I have the IntelliJ IDE. I prefer it over the other ones, honestly. I just, honestly, they all pretty much do the same thing. I just kind of prefer this one for no reason at all, to be honest with you. But to start, I'm going to show you guys, because maybe some people don't really know how to start even the project itself. So you want to have your Java SDK installed, and you'll have to find the folder. Mine's in program files. So I have Java, JDK12, open that up. This will give you the library of everything that you need to use when you're compiling your code. Go ahead and hit next. You could use a template. This is the Hello World template. It'll pretty much make simple Java Hello World application, which we'll go ahead and do on our own, and then we'll do some other stuff with it as well. So we'll call this intro project, whatever. It doesn't really matter what you call it. Usually you call that whatever you're assigned or whatever you're trying to do. And then here, this is where you have all your files. So you see the path of it: users, EBM root, whatever. This is all my stuff. This is where I'm going to be finding my project. But what we're worried about right here is a source. To start a class itself, you're going to want to right-click source, go to new Java class, and then call this whatever you want to call it. So I'll just call this starter class. Generally, when you're doing projects like this, they have the first letter uncapitalized, second word, I'm sorry, capitalized. So in this case, starters lowercase, class is uppercase. I'm not really sure why they do that, but it's kind of like just the way things are. So when you're doing assignments, you're gonna want to name it lowercase in the beginning, uppercase on your second word. If you don't have any uppercase, if there's class isn't here, starter's fine. So we're gonna do starter class right here. So it starts you off with here, public class, starter class. Between these are two brackets. Essentially, this is just gonna be where you're gonna be writing your code. And with every class, you're gonna want to create a public lowercase. So this statement right here is basically telling the computer this is where I want you to start reading code in. This is the keyword right here, main. All right. So whenever you're gonna call this, you're gonna want to call it main. Main is going to be like, this is like your main area where you're gonna have all your code. So if you have separate methods down here that hold other stuff, public int stuff, you'll call it right here. Okay. Let's not get too far into this for now. I just want to do something very simple for you guys to understand. So, well, first of all, we're going to do the basic hello world printout. So the system.out.println will basically print a statement and then start a new line right here. The ln stands for new line. you just have a system.outprint, it'll print something, but if you print something else after it, it will print it on the same line. It won't skip to a new line. So it's usually beneficial to have a. That's why they. Because what I'm doing right here, if you're wondering why I typed it super fast. So whenever I press system or S out, I press tab, it prints out everything for me, which is very helpful. I like that about IntelliJ. I'm sure other IDEs do that as well, but I like that about IntelliJ. It makes it much easier. So in here, you're gonna have a statement. You could have a class. You call class that prints out something maybe, and you want to print it out here. But yeah, so you'll, for example, we're just gonna do hello world for now, and it's gonna be surrounded by these quotes, which signify that it's a string. So it's gonna be words, a summation of words. You could even have numbers, hello world 1 2 3 4, and it'll print out hello world 1 2 3 4. But these numbers will be considered as a string, not int or a double or anything of the other sorts. It's still going to be considered as a string. If you want to have hello world plus like a number, you do plus 1 2 3 4. Okay. Plus is like a union of a string and an integer. So what this will print out right here is hello world and immediately 1 2 3 4. But if we write a space right here, it'll be hello world space 1 2 3 4. So if we run this, we'll go ahead and see. We'll go ahead and see that it prints out that. All right. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's up with this, why it's mad right now. Every time I leave it on it, you don't make it easy, no. Every time I'm walking out. Yeah, not really sure why it's upset right now. Like, not really sure what's going on here. You left in the dust, and this is stuck by ya. Maybe that's what it wanted. To make it happy, I guess it's fine. So basically what it got mad about, I guess, is that it doesn't have a constructor, the default constructor. So right here, you call the public starter class, which is our name of our class. Right now we don't have anything in it, but sometimes you'll put some variables in it, like some things that you'll use later on, stuff like that. So yeah, that's, I guess. But as you can see here, hello world 1 2 3 4. It's exactly what we wanted. That's what we wanted to print. So that worked perfectly, exactly how we wanted it to. Now let's say you wanted to take in someone. Let's say you wanted to have someone input something to display. Or let's say you wanted to have a person enter two numbers and then you add them together, okay? Something simple like that. So to do that, you're gonna want to import, and you do this on the top. Importing is basically importing, hold up one second. Okay, so you're going to want to import the Java utility called scanner. Scanner is essentially just something that takes in keyboard input and saves it as something inside the main class or wherever you're using it. It saves it as a variable that you set. So to initially utilize it, you have to instantiate the keyboard class. So I guess we could do it in here. So okay, so right here, basically this is a statement that's creating a new scanner variable that we could use called keyboard. So when you make other classes as well, wow, I really cannot type. So let's say we had this second class called public int multiply. We would do the same type of thing. I'll show you right now. So multiply mult equals new oh, interesting. Yeah, very weird. Huh. Sorry, I'm just fiddling around with code right now, honestly. You don't really have to worry about this for now, but right now basically what I'm doing is trying to create a class called multiply, throwing in 0 as the variable that's gonna be used in it, just to show you kind of how to use something like this. In this case, we don't really need to worry about that for now, but essentially, so we have the keyboard scanner right here, right? So whenever we use a scanner, we're gonna be calling it, we're gonna be calling keyboard dot whatever we want to do. Okay, so system.print please enter a number to be multiplied or to be added. I think we wanted colon space. Okay, we don't want a new line to print right now because we want the number to show up right after the statement. So for now, we'll have it just system.out.print. Please enter a number to be added. Okay. Okay, so when we're calling the keyboard, when we're calling the keyboard, we're gonna create it as a variable, and we're gonna be using this has key or this has method or statement, I guess you could call it. I'm not really sure what you'd call it, to be honest with you, but right now we're gonna be taking in an int standing for integer because we want to add two numbers, right? So we're going to be calling the keyboard, and we're going to be saying has int, right? Has next int. Okay, so my bad. We're going to use the next int right here. not has. Has is a Boolean statement, so has just checks if it has an integer when they type in something. But for now, we're going to be using the next int. If we want to just have something that takes in anything, integer, string, anything, we could just use the keyboard.next, and that'll literally do that'll take anything. So I think that would be signified as a string because strings could hold anything. Okay, so yeah, so this could be a number, anything, right? But since we're telling it that we want it to be an integer, so we're going to be using has, or not has, next int. So this will be taking in a number to be added. They'll type it in, it'll be saved as n, okay, and we'll be using it later on, but for now, we want to print out a new line, first of all, because right now it says please enter a new number. We typed in a number, now we want it to go to the next line so we can ask for a second number. So that's why I did a system out print ln to do a new line. Please enter a second number to be added. Another space to add the extra space needed to include the number, and then we'll say int k equals keyboard.next int again. Right? Okay, so what this will do is enter a number to be added, take in an integer typed in from the keyboard, new line will be printed, please enter a second number to be added, take in another keyboard integer typed, and it'll be saved in n and k. Alright, so when we're doing the addition on it, we're going to be utilizing n and k. Alright, so make a new integer, sum equals n plus k. Oops, n plus k. Very simple. Alright, so the sum is just equal to the two saved values of the keyboard added to each other. Right, very simple. And then we're going to display the sum by another system out. Oh, actually, we want to remember to add the new line, and we want to make sure that we remember to not do the new line right here, so that the number goes right after the statement that we type. The number goes right after this statement. It's just kind of like an aesthetic that is pleasing to the eye. You don't really have to do that, but it's just nicer. Okay, so the sum is n plus k. We'll go ahead and system out print sum. Go ahead and run that. Please enter a number to be added. We'll go ahead and do 15 plus 20. 35. So clearly 15 plus 20 is 35. For some reason this was printed on the next line. So let's go ahead and see what happened here. Oh, okay. So we skipped to a new line and we added that keyboard input after we entered the new line. So we'll go ahead and fix that. Show it up again. We'll do another test run of it. 75 plus 25, 100. All right. Okay, so as you can see, it's working exactly how we want it to be. So let's see. Now we're going to do something a little bit more tricky, which is also pretty simple, but a little bit more in depth into code. We'll create something called an if statement, and this if statement will just basically ask or see, based on the user's input, if it's less than 100. All right, so they cannot type something that's greater than 100. Maybe we want to do a calculation of a grade and the total is 100. You cannot input a grade that's over 100, otherwise it should come up with an error. So we'll go ahead and make an if statement that'll catch that. Alright, so we'll do the if statements whenever a key is entered. right? Okay, so right here we'll have an if statement, and within the if statement, if n is greater than 100, system out print, your value is too high. Alright, so if they entered something that's greater than 100, this will print out your value is too high. And then what we want it to do is probably take in another value for n. Oops. Okay. Okay, so it's already made in the scope. So what we'll do is we'll just add it right here. N2. Okay. So since it's already made, sorry, we could still add it here. Since it's already made, we don't have to signify the int. So n equals okay. So basically what this is going to do is if it's greater than 100, it's going to say your value is too high. We'll say please enter a new value. Okay, and then it'll take in another value, save it as n, which we want it to save because in the summation we're using n. So this is going to change this value from n to the new value that they type in. Please enter a new value under 100. All right. Okay. Else. That's it. You don't even need an else statement in this case. So basically, you'll put an else statement after the if, which will basically run something after this. Okay. So if it's greater than 100, we want it to print out your value is too high. Enter a new value. However, if it's less than 100, it's fine. It doesn't need to do anything else, right? So we don't need to have the else statement. We just want it to continue on with the rest of the code. So we have the new line printout, which is exactly what we need. And then it's going to say, oh, please enter a second number to be added. So we can just copy and paste this. Make sure that this is k now because we're going to be looking at k. And we're going to be changing the value of k as well. So if k is greater than 100, your value is too high. Please enter a new value under 100. Taking a new value of k, resetting this value from this original one. If it's greater than 100, we'll reset it, set it back to k. So then we'll type in a new value, and then we'll make the new line. The sum will be both. All right. Print out the sum. Okay, so basically what I did here is, I'm pretty sure after this you guys understand what I'm doing here. Put in a string, made a union with sum. So adding this basically is saying add this integer sum with this printout. So the sum of the two numbers is space the n plus k, right? Exactly what we wanted. And that's it. So we'll go ahead and run it for now. Please enter a number to be added. We'll write something greater than 100. So 105. Okay, let's try and see if we write another one. 105. Okay, so this is going to be an error in our code because after we write 105, it'll ask us for a new value. But if we still write something over 100, it's going to keep going on. So something that we could do instead of an if statement is a while loop. So now that I showed you an if statement, you kind of understand the gist of this. What we want to do now is something called a while loop. Okay? So this while loop is going to be continuously running until n is, in this case, we're going to be running it until, actually no, I think this should be fine. So while n is greater than 100, run this. So it's gonna change n here. It's gonna check and see, oh, okay, is n greater than 100? It is? Okay, keep asking, keep asking. Is n greater than 100? No, it's not? Okay, skip on to the next statement right here. Easy, right? So this while loop is gonna continuously loop until this statement is satisfied, or not satisfied in this case. So we want it to run continuously until the user enters something less than 100. So we'll do the same thing here. Literally all you have to do is change this to while, because all the other syntax is the same. And yeah, that should be it, actually. Okay. Please enter a number to be added. We'll go ahead and add 110. Value's too high. Please enter another value. 150. Value's too high. 135. Value's too high. Now let's enter 90. Please enter a second number. 20. Sum of the two numbers is 110. Perfect. Okay. So when we're looking at grades, we also don't want this grade to be 110. We want it to be less than 100. However, it is possible for grades to be over 100. So in this case, we'll let it slide. But for now, you were introduced to the while loop, the if, some system out prints, the scanner keyboard, and hopefully this gives you a brief idea of some intro to Java, just some of the ways that you could use some of it. So this is just a good intro video. I'll be potentially making some more in the future that are a little bit more informative, do a little bit more advanced stuff. But for now, I hope you enjoyed.